Clyde Barrow, the most ruthless killer the Southwest has ever known, was granted a parole from the Texas State Penitentiary by Governor Ross Sterling on February 2nd, 1932. He had been placed there after a series of comparatively minor crimes, including chicken stealing and petty thievery in his early boyhood, and culminating in burglary and automobile stealing. After his release, he began seriously his short career of violent crime, stealing automobiles, robbing banks, killing without mercy. Like a snowball rolling downhill, Barrow's crime record began to grow. After he walked out of the penitentiary on parole, one of the first things he did was to team up with Raymond Hamilton, another West Dallas bad boy. Together they went to Hillsboro, Texas, and about midnight on April 30th, 1932, they knocked on the door of a small store owned by J.N. Boucher.
What do you want? Oh, I guess you got dark, Clyde. Come on in.
Clyde Barrow murdered J.N. Boucher, a defenseless man, shot him in the back, and then continued to pour hot lead into his body as it lay on the floor. This was Clyde's first murder, and after this first taste of blood, 12 men went down to their death from Clyde Barrow's guns. W.D. Jones, who was held captive by Barrow for many months and who participated with him in robbery and murder, is now a prisoner in the Dallas County Jail. From W.D. Jones, we get first-hand information on Clyde Barrow, the killer.
I have been indicted along with Clyde and Bonnie for the murder of Malcolm Davis, Fort Worth Deputy Sheriff. I was forced along under threats of death with Clyde Barrow through many of his gun battles and saw him kill 5 men. Clyde Barrow never seemed to care for killing anyone. All he thought of was himself. That's the reason I tried to escape. Just soon kill me as anyone.
After Clyde had become a full-fledged killer and gone in for big-time crime, he met Bonnie Parker, waitress and wife of a convict. What attracted this strange pair to each other will never be known. After a series of murders and bank jobs, Bonnie and Clyde were boldly keeping a rendezvous with some of their henchmen near Grapevine, Texas. While they waited, they drank whiskey, made love to each other, and practiced their marksmanship by shooting at birds. Presently, 2 state highway patrol officers sighted the pair. They decide to investigate. They approach Bonnie and Clyde totally unaware of their identity. This atrocious murder sealed the doom of Bonnie and Clyde, for every peace officer in the entire Southwest became so enraged over this killing, they pledged themselves to sleepless days and nights in their search for this murdering pair. This untiring search finally brought the officers who were detailed to concentrate all of their efforts day and night to the apprehension of Bonnie and Clyde to a spot on a gravel road in the state of Louisiana. For 3 days and nights, these officers lay in wait on this road, but Bonnie and Clyde were wary. There is a sort of a tradition among peace officers of Texas that Barrow was possessed of some sixth sense, like a wild beast, which foretold of danger. But on this morning, this sixth sense did not serve to warn him of their presence.
That looks like the car, fellas. That's him for sure, I'll guarantee you. Get ready now. That's him, fellas. He reaches for it, let him have it. Look out!
Death is at the steering wheel. The inevitable end. Retribution. Here is Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, who died as they lived, by the gun. Bonnie is seen leaning against Clyde. Clyde was a master gunman. Seldom did anyone ever live when Clyde got the first shot. Clyde Barrow's mania, his guns, spiked at last by the law. 2 sawed-off shotguns, 2 machine rifles, 10 automatic pistols, and 1,500 rounds of Barrow and Parker death car. Every one of these holes was made by the steel-jacketed bullets from the high-powered rifles in the hands of the officers. Many of these bullets passed entirely through the door on Clyde's side, through Clyde's body, struck Bonnie, passed through her body, then out through the door on her side of the car. The officers were on the left side of the road, nearest the driver. This explains the fact that Bonnie's body had more bullet holes than Clyde's. Any one of these bullets would have been fatal to both. But after having killed 14 people, most of whom were officers of the law, and having come safely through so many gun battles, it did not seem advisable to fire just one bullet. Some of the personal effects of Clyde and Bonnie. Vanity, thy name is woman. Bonnie's case contains many of the feminine aids to beauty. Really a pretty girl, Bonnie was found at the time of her death to have had a new permanent wave. Her fingernails were clean and prettily manicured, as were Clyde's, which was probably due to Bonnie's influence. This would indicate that aside from her association with Clyde during their murderous moments, she was a perfectly normal girl in many respects. Clyde's guns were his vanity. At night he would clean, oil, and polish them, and for each one he had a pet name. Barrow was a tourist who changed his home state at will. These license plates, found under the rear seat of the car, made him in turn a tourist from Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana. This is a big day in the life of this sleepy little town of Arcadia, Louisiana. The crowd in front of the small furniture and undertaking company, where Clyde and Bonnie's bodies lay, milled and grew to great proportions with each succeeding hour. 4 of the 6 officers who brought down Bonnie and Clyde. On the left, Deputy Sheriff Oakley. Next, Sheriff Jordan, in whose parish in Louisiana Bonnie and Clyde met their death. Next to Sheriff Jordan is Deputy Sheriff Bob Alcorn of Dallas County, Texas, upon whose shoulders rested the tremendous responsibility of positively identifying Bonnie and Clyde as they came down the road. He was the only man in the party who knew Barrow and Bonnie on sight. Not a gun could be fired until he gave the word. At the right is Alcorn's partner, Deputy Sheriff Ted Hinton of Dallas County, Texas, who with Alcorn trailed Bonnie and Clyde for many months. Sheriff Smoot Smith of Dallas County, Texas, who among all peace officers was most heavily obligated to apprehend the Barrow gang. He fulfilled that obligation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce two of my deputies, R.S. Bob Alcorn and Ted Hinton, who over 2 months ago were assigned to catch Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, two of the South's worst killers. This was terminated in their apprehension day before yesterday in the state of Louisiana.
Many other officers of several different states deserve a lot of credit that have worked and cooperated with the officers that participated in the apprehension of the two worst criminals the Southwest has ever known. In view of the fact that these criminals have been directly responsible for the killing of many of our brother officers, we felt it our duty to do our best to stop their terrorism, which has extended over a period of some 26 or 27 months. Each and every officer present at the time of the capture deserves the same credit, as we all did our best. I regret that we couldn't have taken them alive, but that was impossible. I further regret that there was a woman that had to be killed, which couldn't have been helped.
There is not much to say now. It is all over. The ends of law and justice have been served. We fulfilled our duties of officers of the law and carried out our orders of Sheriff Smoot Smith. I can truthfully say that we went through hell and came back.
Thousands attend the homecoming of Clyde Barrow. In this Dallas funeral home, his body lies as a never-ending line of men, women, and children from every walk of life file by his casket for a fleeting glimpse of the boy who had wrought so much death and destruction. Everyone wanted to see how such a bad boy looked in death. In life, his very presence would have struck fear to their hearts, but now they fear him not. Clyde's body is borne to the grave. Again, tragedy and shame descend upon his aged father and mother. Like his brother Buck, he died at the hands of the law. Do you suppose a child was ever born that the parents did not immediately begin to dream of the purposeful life that child would lead, and of how proud they would be to watch that life unfold? In every mother's lap there sits a future president, and no father ever dreamed that the little fellow holding his hand would ever become a gangster. And yet, it is the paradox of life that from the day your child comes into this world, a million conflicting influences begin to mold his character. The soul of that child becomes a battleground on which God and the devil fight for final victory. It is to be hoped that Clyde's younger brother, who is here shown attempting to console his mother, may yet vindicate the name of Barrow and make it stand for something in the community besides crime and murder. It is to be hoped that he will be able to withstand the temptation of easy money and the pleadings of the devil and bring some measure of sunshine and happiness to the lives of his aged parents in their declining years. At another funeral home in Dallas, 3 miles across the city from where Clyde's body lay, lies the body of Bonnie Parker, and here the crowd is even greater. As far as is recorded, Bonnie Parker was the worst woman bandit since the days of Belle Starr. She is the only woman ever to be shot down by officers of the law in attempted capture. Bonnie's burial was attended only by close friends and relatives, which numbered about 150 people, including her sister, Billy Mace, who is now a prisoner of the law, charged with the killing of 2 state highway patrolmen, of which her sister Bonnie had already been accused. Billy Mace is attended at the funeral by 2 deputy sheriffs and a matron of the jail. Clyde Barrow's mother and father, seen in the foreground, and his brother, also pay their respects to the girl who was Clyde's only friend and who died by his side. In the last few words of Bonnie's own poem, which she penned before her death, to a few it means grief. To the law, it's relief. But it's death to Bonnie and Clyde. Truly, crime does not pay.